Hello, hello, hello. I'm playing with filters today. Can you tell? um, I was having this conversation with a few people, a couple of friends and a partner. I've had this conversation multiple times, and I wanted to talk today about the dangers of the I already know syndrome. All right. And I'm going to kind of start slow because I know people are popping on. I'm enjoying this filter. But, before I get started, I want to ask a question. And that question is, when you are faced with a perspective or something new, something to learn, what is your inclination? Is your inclination to lead with an open mind, lead with when you're faced with a perspective that maybe you already have an opinion about, when you're faced with a conversation in which there's differing point of views, what is your response? Is it, I already know? Is it, this is so? Or is there an opening to learning and gaining something new? And one of the things that I think can be somewhat of a potential pitfall is the I already know syndrome, right? Now, it comes in different forms. And if you're in the live with me, I'd love for you to type in the chat box what it might sound like to you, what you've heard other people say that sounds like I already know, or I don't need that. The I already know syndrome, what it does is it shuts you off to new possibilities. It shuts you off to learning potential different points of view. Now, some people don't want to know different points of view, and that's fine, right? That's everybody has their level of their belief systems, their value systems, and their level of readiness to be able to take in new information. But oftentimes there are the possibility to transform your life, one's life, someone else's life, if we are open to conversation, if we're open to new views. I was looking at this interesting TED Talk, and I can't remember the man's name, but he was talking about the fact that in order to understand the alt-right point of view, he had to engage with them. And while he took a very dramatic approach to doing that, it was a very interesting point. Oftentimes we shut off other points of view. We shut off the things that we think the lessons we think we've already learned when we get to a certain point, especially people who get degrees in particular arenas, when we ascend to higher levels of education, when we've had certain experiences, then we take those experiences as the gospel, and we don't necessarily allow for the expanded view that could potentially give us new learnings. And that's part of that I already know. It's what some institutions might call an already always. Like you already know, you already have heard this before. You already know what this person's going to say. You already know how this situation's going to go. You already know. And a lot of times we think we already know, but we really don't have any idea. As an example, I had a client of mine that I was coaching. She's a doc. And when she came to me, she was really suffering from burnout. And the conversation we had was very simple. Have you asked for a different schedule? Have you asked to pull back on your hours? Have you asked to be able to transition your shift on time so that you're not staying 5 hours past when you're supposed to leave? Because as physicians, sometimes that happens. And she had never asked. But her response to me was, well, I already know what they're going to say. I already know what the response is going to be. And what she had been leading with this response for years, which had her continue to be in this circumstance of working 80 hours a week, or 60 to 80 hours a week, as opposed to being able to get off when she was supposed to get off, right? So, I brought this question. If you already know, then what is the possibility for you to gain something new? So you're going to go ask anyway. And what happened was she went and she inquired. She asked the people who were her superiors if she could pull back her hours, and they said yes. Not even flinching, not even pushing back, not even giving any resistance, right? And when she came back, she was very amazed about that. It's amazing what could happen when you just ask. Similarly, I had another female doc client who, was wanting to move into a new position in her job. And I asked, have you asked? And she hadn't asked. Oftentimes we forget to ask. And when we forget to ask because we think we already know the answer, then we miss out on the opportunity to have the answer be something other than what we think. So these are the dangers of I already know. Now, I just gave examples of missing opportunity to advance or missing opportunity to take care of oneself or to get what you want. But this shows up in relationships when you don't ask for what you want because you assume that there's going to be an automatic response, that I already know, right? I already know what my husband's going to say. I already know what my wife's going to say. I already know what my partner's going to say, right? When you make that assumption without asking, then you're not even giving the other person an opportunity to show up for you. Like, how's that? It's like when someone makes an assumption about you, then they're not giving you an opportunity to prove them any different, not to prove them wrong, because it's not about being right or wrong, but to show up, right? So when you have that already, I already know, especially in a relationship, I already know what someone's going to say if I ask for what I want, or if I ask for help, or if I ask for, whatever. Even if the answer is the same, just not even giving them the chance is damaging. And if this is making sense to you, if you understand, then just type it in the chat box. It makes sense. I can give you a personal example. I was driving. I picked up my partner. I was going to drive him back to his home, and after we had spent some time together, and he had left his keys at my house, and we don't live very close together, and so for me, I was already tired. I didn't feel like driving all the way back home to drive all the way back across town. But I felt sort of obligated. I felt guilty about feeling that way. I mean, there was just a lot there. And I almost made the assumption that if I asked if he could just, take a car, because, we do have rideshare, take a car, that it would automatically be a no. And I stopped myself and I thought, well, this is a self-care act. Now, if he had said no, I would have just driven him back to my place and back home. We were all the way on the other side of town, but I would have done it. But instead of having I already know what he's going to say, or I already know how he's going to react, or I already know he's going to feel some kind of way, I just swallowed that and asked. And it was such a beautiful response, And so I was afforded the opportunity to have some self-care and to allow him to show up for me in a way that made a difference, and he felt no kind of way about it, right? So I really just wanted to drop that little pearl today. As you go about your day, be mindful of how many times you want to ask for something. You want to engage in a particular way. You want to extend an olive branch or extend a connection. but you stand inside of, well, I already know how this is going to go, and then you hesitate. Take note of how many times at work that you want to, ask for more time off, or even ask for a promotion, ask for a raise, ask for more responsibility, but you think you already know how it's going to go, so you suppress yourself. I want you to take note of how many times you suppress your communication, your expression, and possibility because you already know. Whether it's in your relationships, in your career, in your business. This is a very important thing for you to take note of, because at the end of the day, you know what they say, closed mouths don't get fed. So we need to be willing to not only open our mouths and ask for what we need, but we also need to be willing to listen and be open to new opportunities of things that we think we already know, especially those of us who are deep in personal development. Anytime there's any type of extension of the possibility of personal development, and I've done a lot of that in my time, I've got a lot of certifications, a lot of degrees, all of that. I always keep my mind open to what the possibility of learning is. And if we do that, it can transform our lives and ourselves as well. All right. So that's today's little mind remapping vitamin. If you like it, share it. And of course, if you want more of these conversations, join me in the Mind Remapping Nation. And you know how to do that. Just click the link in the bio and get your sneak preview. All right. You guys have a great rest of the day. And hopefully I'll be able to hop on tomorrow and give you all another little mind remapping vitamin. Okay. Take care.